Welcome to Legal Meets, a look at legal beyond the law. A podcast by LegalMeets. On this episode of Legal Meets, we meet Jack Newton, co-founder and CEO of Clio, one of the world's leading and fastest growing cloud-based legal practice management solutions. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Legal Meets. I'm joined by co-founder and CEO of Clio over in Vancouver. Welcome, Jack.
Thanks for having me, Stevie.
It's great to have you here. It's afternoon your time, and we're kind of just getting out of bed here in the morning. But I hope I haven't got you a bad time. You look like you're at Clio HQ.
I am. I'm in our staff lounge here, where everyone hangs out at the end of the day and relaxes.
Good food, no doubt.
Indeed.
Okay, good stuff. So just jumping into it, obviously Clio is quite a well-renowned company right now, and you've created quite a name in the legal space. But getting away from legal, and if TED Talks was to approach you tomorrow and say, Jack, would love you to give a talk, what is it that you would talk about? What's one of your secret passions or hidden talents that you'd love to kind of share with the world?
Well, I think that I would still leverage the Clio story, but stay away from legal and maybe share some of my learnings and thoughts around building something from scratch. It's been an amazing journey in the 10 years of building Clio, and a lot of lessons learned I think that would apply equally well to folks in the legal space, but also everyone outside the legal sphere that's just trying to build something, trying to build a company. And we've been building Clio for 10 years now, and have I think I've got a lot of interesting lessons learned in terms of scaling company culture, fundraising, the various challenges you meet at different inflection points of the business. Over the last 9 years, we've gone from Ryan Govero, my co-founder, and myself working out of our respective basements to a company that's over 225 people today. So
it's the real garage story, right? Like out of the
it is.
Out of the basement.
It is. It is indeed in the frozen tundra of Canada. So
yeah.
I think there's a TED Talk in there focusing on culture and what it takes to start something from scratch, and what I hope is an inspirational story, because I feel like there's a lot of interesting companies waiting to get built out there, and people waiting for people to have the courage to kind of jump in with both feet and build something that they think is possible.
Yep, no, it sounds like that's what gets you out of bed in the morning, right? It's kind of that going out and building and just kind of continuing that journey.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like even though we've been at this for 9 years, I feel like in a lot of ways we're just
getting started. Yeah, okay, yeah. Awesome. And so, how does someone with a computer science degree get into the master's, get into the legal tech space?
Yeah, so my background's in machine learning, computer science, very much a technology guy, which surprises a lot of people. A lot of people incorrectly assume that I'm a lawyer, yeah. And that's the only way someone would end up in the legal technology space. But the story really traces back all the way to elementary school, when I met my co-founder Ryan Govero in grade 3, and we decided that we wanted to start a company together. We thought it would be a great. We didn't decide in grade 3, by the way, but we became friends, and became around university. We said it'd be great to start a company together at some point. And I think around this was around 2007 when kind of our two life paths crossed again, and we said this is a great opportunity to kick something off and build something. And we decided that we were kind of two hammers looking for a nail. We were technology guys. We saw the cloud as a major transformative influence. We saw that it was already revolutionizing, for example, CRM, and we saw that with Salesforce.com, for example, and the kind of success they saw. Well, we've seen over the last, we saw Basecamp and other kind of simple SaaS applications create a ton of value for small businesses. And we started looking for industries that were ripe for disruption and ready for change. And legal jumped off the page for us as a space that was really ripe for that innovation and disruption. And we thought that the cloud provided a really unique model for accessing the SMB segment of the legal space as well, which we saw as being very much overlooked by the incumbents in the space. Most legal technology companies were focused on the AmLaw 500 and all of the potential revenue those companies presented, and we saw the real opportunities going after solos and small firms and addressing their needs because their hair was on fire. They really needed a technology solution, and the cloud was a unique solution to their
and that's a
pain
broader
point.
part of the market, right? Like you got like about 80%. I know in Australia at least, it's almost over 80% of the market are solos and small, small
Absolutely,
firms.
and in fact, that was one of the things that surprised me most about the legal space as we were getting into it. Was just how large the solo small firms segment was, and as you pointed out, 80% of lawyers practicing firms of 10 or less, and a full half of all lawyers practice as solos. And what's surprising to me is we've looked internationally as well, and those ratios hold both in the United States and most international markets. So it seems to be this immutable law of law firm.
That's right. It's a bit like the access to justice kind of number as well, right? Like in
That's
Canada,
right.
US, UK, like the developed kind of countries.
That's right.
It's that kind of par for the course. Well, that's interesting to see that you just saw this antiquated industry, and it was kind of inevitable. You guys had the tech talent and the hunger from the entrepreneurial side, and it was just a matter of, like you said, finding that the nail to kind of hit.
That's right. And what we were really surprised by was when we did our market research and we said, okay, legal looks like an industry ripe for disruption, and the cloud-based practice management and time and billing systems seems to be what they need. When we researched the market, we looked high and low for startups, for incumbents releasing some kind of product that did what we were thinking of, and didn't find anything, and it blew us away, and it made us question ourselves. Actually, like, this seems like such an obviously huge opportunity. How's it possible that no one's doing it? Yeah. And I remember asking one of my mentors that question at the time, and he said, if you have a great idea that doesn't seem to have any competition, it's either a stupid idea or you're about to hit pay dirt. And
exactly.
You need to decide whether it's the former or the latter.
It's like 0 to 1, right? So Elon's shooting rockets to Mars and whatever else, and you guys said, hey, let's... and you guys actually, I think at one point wanted to shoot some rockets to space. Wasn't that the case?
We did. Our early company idea was an aerospace engineering company. Awesome. Newton Goverell Aerospace was the provisional name of the company. We even designed a logo for it. And then I think we were starry-eyed high school students at that point, and we realized that the step-in costs for that industry are about $1 billion.
Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
you need an Elon Musk PayPal-like exit to fund that kind of ambition.
So maybe someday. Maybe someday at some point, Clio's shooting rockets, lawyers to Mars or somewhere, on demand.
I was just ahead of my time. I didn't realize it was the cool thing to do. Yeah.
Awesome. And so, when we were chatting in Chicago at the last ClioCon, you mentioned, and they're quite well renowned in some of these, like you said, the entrepreneurial stories that you'd probably talk about at TED. There's Bob Ambrogi, hi Bob, the godfather of legal tech, writing about you guys that kind of, broke you guys to the legal world in a sense. There was also the ABA tech show. You kind of, rocked up, and everyone else had all these nice shiny kind of computers sitting on the stand. You went and bought them and kind of, gave them back. Interestingly, Legal did the exact same thing. We weren't taking any pages out of your playbook. We did the exact same thing, and Bob was kind enough to do an article, kind of the first legal tech one, about us as well. And so the last one that really was interesting to me was Christopher Jantz. You almost missed one huge opportunity. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so one of my favorite early Clio stories is around trying to get funding. So the timeline, I just, the light bulb went off in 2007. We started building the product, released the first versions of the product in 2008. The first beta of Clio was launched at ABA Tech Show in March of 2008. We launched version 1.0 and started generating revenue in October of 2008. And saw some pretty immediate success. And around 2009, started thinking, let's raise some money. Let's swing for the fences here and go for something bigger and try to dominate this industry. We wanted to become the Salesforce of legal. So we went out to raise money and spent a bunch of time in Western Canada, Vancouver being the main kind of center of gravity for funding in Western Canada. Spent a lot of time talking to VCs and angels about the possibility of raising money. And as you'll recall, 2009, 2010 was not a great time to be raising
time to
money.
raise money.
The financial crisis had hit its peak. There was a lot of investors that gave us the feedback that this was one of the best pitch decks they'd ever seen. They're super excited about the company, but they're just not writing checks because they were legitimately worried the bottom was about to fall out of the financial system, and that the economic world as we knew it was about to collapse.
Yeah.
And so we had a super hard time raising money for months and months. And then out of nowhere, essentially, this guy named Christoph Jans emailed us, and he was a German-based investor that had just sold his internet company and had now become an angel investor. He had just invested in this little company called Zendesk when it was four guys in Copenhagen was his first angel investment, and Clio was going to be his second. And what we saw with Christoph was his first email to us went right into our spam folder. We were early users of Google Apps, so it was one of those initial versions of Google Apps that we were using. And his email went right into the spam folder.
The filters were too strong.
the filters were too strong. And we also inadvertently slow played him by virtue of going in the spam folder.
He's like, man, these guys are really playing hard to get, huh?
He said, these guys are playing hard to get. Went right in the spam folder, and he sent a second follow-up email saying, hey guys, I'm actually like really interested in Clio, would we be able to jump on a call? And what I can only describe as an act of God, Ryan was super bored one day.
Yeah, let me just clean out that
decided to
spam
see
folder.
what was in his spam folder, which I don't think he's ever done since.
Yeah.
I've certainly never done in my lifetime.
I'd be going back if I was getting those kinds of emails, but yeah.
Exactly, and stumbled across this email and forwarded it to me and says, this looks legit. And sure enough, I followed up with Christoph. He ended up leading our first $1 million investment round, and became an integral part of the Clio success story.
And the rest is history, right?
Yeah, the rest is history. So it's one of the pro tips for any budding entrepreneurs in the audience here is check your spam folder.
Yeah, make sure those VC emails, the ones that are willing to write checks aren't going into your spam.
Exactly. We suspect that the reason he got flagged was he was emailing from a German domain. It was .de, and he was talking about investment. So it must have looked like a Nigerian Nigerian scam to Google.
Yeah. You inherited some prince's fortunes.
That's right. That's right. Just send me your bank details.
Well, you kind of ended up doing that. So what kind of advice would you have for entrepreneurs, especially in the legal tech space, that I'm sure in the past there's a lot of legal's too hard, lawyers don't buy, there's all that kind of stuff. But what would be your advice to someone even starting today in the legal tech space, and going out and again trying to build that baby, like you said, from scratch, and trying to build a company that's going to change the legal world?
Yeah, so I'd give a few pieces of advice. I think number one, the conventional advice that lawyers don't buy products the way other people do, I think it's all BS. I think that lawyers need to be spoken to in a way that they understand, but if you deliver value to them, they will flock to your product. And I think Clio is a great example of that, exactly that behavior happening. To early stage entrepreneurs, I think it's so obvious that it shouldn't need to be mentioned, but so many entrepreneurs miss this, and it is focus on your customer. Don't focus on VCs, don't focus on raising money, don't focus on all the things your potential investors might be saying you should be doing instead of what you're doing. Focus on your customer and find that, one of the pieces of advice I say is, find that first prototypical customer that you feel is representative of something you can scale, make your product work for them, and scale out from there. And if you can make your product work for one person, then you can figure out what you need to do to make it work for 10 people. And then if you're in a market of any scale, making it work for 100 and then 1,000 and then 100,000 customers will be within reach. And I think many entrepreneurs get too hung up on what do I need to do to make this work for 100,000 people and get completely locked up at that point. And instead, it's way easier to start small, iterate out from there, and just start listening to more and more customers over time. But in the beginning, focus on a very small subset of customers and listen intently to them. The catch there is that you need to be very selective in what those customers are. You can't have, if you get unlucky, or make bad decisions, you might
take
be
you down the
listening.
wrong path, right?
They'll take you down the wrong path. Exactly. They'll start
It's like feature
listing
creep
off
and all the other
exactly all
wonderful
sorts
things.
of esoterica that they
Yep.
want in the product. But if
Well,
you do
that's
a
like
good job of it, it can make your product development process so much easier.
Yeah, and that's where Steve Jobs obviously famously quoted that if they knew what they wanted, they'd obviously already probably have it or have done it.
Exactly.
So you got to be careful with what feedback you kind of take on board and how you do your testing and
That's
what,
right.
what even how you ask questions. That's amazing. So again, like you want to get those 100 customers that love you as opposed to like 10,000, 1,000 that kind of it's also
Yeah,
rans.
they'll come,
Yeah.
but you need to build up to that.
Okay, awesome. And so do you think again in just the buying sense, has the market matured to the point? Obviously, lawyers are waking up every day hearing about robots taking their jobs and AI and whatever else. But has the tipping point come in terms of just the buying and adoption of technology for these firms? Have they really come into this age of it's tech or nothing?
I think we still got a long way to go. I think lawyers are starting to get it, and I think there's a combination of factors happening in the industry at large that are starting to move things in the right direction. But a lot of lawyers have not had the epiphany that technology is here to help.
Yeah.
I think it's also, to me, becoming increasingly obvious that you need to adopt technology to survive. And that's obvious to more and more lawyers, but there's still a lot of lawyers that don't have a computer on their desk.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of lawyers that haven't embraced things like document automation.
Yep.
There's still a lot of lawyers that view technology as a competitive threat rather than something that can be a huge enabling tool for their law firm. So I think that's where there's work to be done and where we can make a big difference as technology providers in terms of educating lawyers around how we can help them and try to drive that adoption rate up.
Just more embracing, more just feeling comfortable to embrace technology as their friend as opposed to their foe.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, awesome. And so you've actually been, obviously Clio's story has been great for just paving that way and changing the sentiment. And previously on one of the episodes we spoke to Sam Glover, and he was saying hopefully the conversations changed from whether it's cloud or not to just more about risk management and things like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
hopefully that's a foregone kind of conclusion now.
My overall thinking on it is I think we spent the first 5 years of Clio's existence talking about the fact that clouds can be secure, all of those things. And I think we're finally moving beyond that and framing the conversation in the right way, which is how can the cloud enable you to deliver a new breed of service to your clients and allow you to deliver a better, higher quality experience to your clients.
Okay, awesome. And so that would have been quite, influential in driving the adoption of cloud. And you were also on the Legal Cloud Computing Association as president, and helped co-found that. So that was a great initiative to kind of create some standards and help drive again the proliferation of cloud technologies. And so now there's a kind of a new conversation and a new initiative that you're involved with, and that one is the Smart Contract Consortium Accord project. So is that to you like the new conversation that you're kind of having with the market and the world about what's next? Like you did with cloud?
Yeah, so I think it's obviously very early at this stage, but I see I see the blockchain and smart contracts and the network of technologies connecting those two as being a very interesting potential area of growth for us and for legal as a whole. And I think legal embracing those kinds of tools is going to be a major enabling factor for the next generation of law firms. It'll be very exciting.
Okay, and so how far do you think the lawyer that's kind of using Clio right now, how far away do you think it is that they're going to wake up and that, whether it's a PDF or a piece of paper, that's kind of gone and it's a smart contract that's kind of sitting there, something, that's plugged into the Internet of Things on the blockchain. How far away? Is that kind of a bit of a pipe dream yet? Is there still a long way to go?
I believe there's a long way to go. I think the big challenge with smart contracts is going to be in achieving critical mass around smart contracts. And there's a number of companies that have signed up to be part of this consortium and are contributing to the technology and contributing to the documents. But there's a long road ahead of us for that to reach critical mass. and a lot of education that remains to be done in terms of what smart contracts are and how law firms can use them.
And like you said, lawyers being cautious, it's the standardization and them feeling comfortable that we've ticked every box and it's ready for broader adoption.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a technology with huge value add and huge potential, but it's going to require some real education.
Okay, cool. And so one of the most, I think the most fun event on the legal event calendar is ClioCon. And we were fortunate enough to experience last year's one in Chicago, and I've got to say you guys have got one of the best company cultures of any industry.
Thank you.
I think just having Canadians there is a good start. So that's
we're a lot of fun.
That's yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. So it's kind of
second only to Aussies, maybe.
Yeah, right. Yeah. In beer drinking, is it? Okay. Is that the yardstick? And so you've got this year's exciting event coming up at ClioCon in New Orleans. So that's going to be the first time I think it's in New Orleans.
That's correct. Yeah.
Tell the listeners what they can expect from that.
So if you've never been to ClioCon, it's something to witness. I think if you've been to any legal conference, whether it's a CLE or any other legal technology conference, you will be blown away by what you see at ClioCon. What we're trying to do is bring together the best of the legal technology world with the energy of a Silicon Valley conference and a rock concert.
Yep.
And we try to combine all of those things into one. And we bring together world-class keynote speakers. This year we'll have over 1,000 attendees, awesome. All of which are forward-thinking, technology-loving lawyers that want to get together with the Clio team and create the future of the practice of law together so that it's a high-energy, dynamic, collaborative atmosphere. We'll have over 30 of our technology partners, like Legaler, at the conference, and we'll be able to, attendees will be able to see the entire Clio ecosystem in play, and it's just a phenomenal event. And we'll make sure that you have a coupon code that you can share with your listeners as well in the in the show notes, and highlight the conference. I'd invite anyone listening to attend.
No, I can say firsthand, it's really, like you said, the combination of a rock concert and whatever else. And it's not just the legal technology speakers. You had Gary Vaynerchuk, and this year you've got a great keynote speaker who's been to outer space. Again, tying back into the aeronautical thing. So
absolutely, that's something we're really excited to. I'll mention a few of the keynote speakers. We've got Haben Girma, who is a deafblind graduate of Harvard Law School, who's going to talk about accessibility both in software and law. We have Chris Hadfield, who is, as you mentioned, world famous astronaut.
Right.
He became a worldwide phenomenon during his tour of duty in the International Space Station.
Hosting from space, and singing David Bowie songs and
singing David Bowie songs from space. Just phenomenal guy who's going to give a great talk about how to plan your career, but also how to persevere over all of the inevitable challenges that will be thrown your way.
Fantastic.
While trying to pursue your career. And our final keynote speaker, which is just been announced, or is going to be announced at least in the next few days before I believe this airs, is Preet Bharara, who is the U.S. attorney, or the former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York.
Oh, wow.
He's named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. He's famous for taking Wall Street white-collar criminals to task, and really looking forward to hearing from him, who I would characterize as a lawyer's lawyer.
Yeah, I was going to say he'd almost be like one of those, like a lawyer out of a TV series or something, right?
Absolutely. He's going to talk about ethics and maintaining professional standards and awesome. behaving in a lawyerly way. So I think it's going to be a great talk.
Looking forward to it. And so, any exciting kind of product news? I know last year you kind of announced some new products coming out, and one of the really cool things about being at ClioCon is if you're in any of the labs where you've got your development team kind of interacting with your users. The lawyers are walking in, they're talking about feature requests, and couple of days later, you're announcing those features being released in real time, almost in your keynote. So it kind of shows, like you mentioned earlier, how close you guys are to your customers and the feedback loop, and also how quick you are to initiate it. So any new stuff coming out that people should keep an eye out?
Yeah, well, there's something huge coming out at ClioCon this year, which is what we've codenamed our Apollo release. And you mentioned what we call our hack days at Clio, which are basically like a 2-day hack session that we run back at headquarters while ClioCon is happening, as we're listening to customers on the ground floor and hearing what some of their key pain points are. We release fixes for some of those pain points at the end of ClioCon, and people go wild.
That's awesome.
The first year we did it, I was amazed how positive the response was. People were just so thrilled with seeing that responsiveness and that the fact we were listening. And I think it also leverages all the benefits of the cloud, where you can say, like, look, in the space of 24 hours,
It's
we
out
listened
there, right? Yeah.
and coded and shipped something. And compare that with desktop software, where you're looking at multi-year release timelines typically.
Shrink wrapped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wait for that CD to get burned.
Yeah.
But, with ClioCon, we're launching Apollo, which is basically that same exercise conducted over a 9-year time span rather than a 2-day time span. So we launched Clio 9 years ago, and have heard from tens of thousands of our customers over that time what they'd like to see improved in Clio, changes they'd like to see to the interface, and improvements they'd like to see in the overall functionality. And with Apollo, what we've done is synthesize 9 years of listening into the first ground-up rewrite of Clio. So we've completely re-platformed Clio with a new baseline technology,
Wow.
a brand new interface, and a new set of APIs that we're leveraging and are also going to be making available to external developers. And that's going to be a big focus of my opening keynote at ClioCon, which is unveiling Apollo, articulating what our vision is for Apollo and the path forward, and then starting that process of listening to our customers all over again with the release of Apollo. But really, really exciting to synthesize all of the learning we've had over the last 9 years, and to also take advantage of all the significant technology shifts that have happened in the last 9 years and incorporate those into one package, which is going to be Apollo. We're also going to be announcing and releasing the 2017 edition of our Legal Trends Report, which is, you might remember last year, the 2016 edition of that report was a groundbreaking world first, which is really the first data-driven report of lawyer behavior, billing volume, billing activities, and an articulation of where lawyers stand with certain key performance indicators and guidance on how they'd be able to improve those key performance indicators. And in the 2017 edition of the report, we'll be updating those numbers, incorporating a whole new set of data insights, and we hope delivering a bunch of new data insights to attendees at the Clio Cloud Conference.
Lots of exciting things happening. And the Legal Trends Report you mentioned was really phenomenal and as you said, groundbreaking, because you'd never had so much in from so many lawyers directly. And at that point, I think it was over 40,000 lawyers, and no doubt more now. So you got this huge database of information that in the past, without the cloud, would not be actually usable. So that's quite amazing, and I'm interested to see what this year's report yields. We've got to let you get back to running the empire, Jack, but we have a few. This is probably mayhem breaking out there, but it sounds like they're partying actually in the background, but.
We're heading into end of day hangout mode here with a few folks in the lounge.
Awesome. So we'll let you get back to it. So we've got a few parting shots before you head off, and just quickly fire them your way. So you're an Android, Windows, or an iOS guy?
iOS.
And does that mean you're a Mac? You kind of you're all Appled up?
I'm also a Mac guy. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
cool.
right.
All right, awesome. And so apart from the laptop, the phone, what bit of technology kind of really plays a pivotal role in your day, or what bit of tech can you not live without? It can be something really innocuous, but yeah.
Sorry, with a technology I can't live without, or
Yeah, what's the one thing that you just can't live without, like, a bit of technology?
oh yeah. I remember thinking about this question, and for me the answer was TripIt. I
Right,
don't know if
okay.
you use TripIt,
Yep, yep,
but for
yep.
organizing your travel, it is just a complete lifesaver. I don't think I'd be able to keep on top of what my
Know which hotel
travel
you're going to,
itinerary
which
looked
flight
like,
you're
or
jumping on. Yeah.
what exactly what terminal I should be connecting to, what airport I should be driving to, what hotel I'm going to. TripIt is just an absolute lifesaver. So I think as a technology, I would feel the pain of losing. That would certainly be one I would feel acutely.
Well, there you go, another bit of technology that's got some good feedback from the customers and solved that problem pretty well. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
and is there any other? Obviously, it sounds like you've got an extremely busy lifestyle, family man, and traveling around a lot. Is there anything that kind of a morning ritual that kind of keeps you sane, or kind of just keeps your routine going? Anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah. My ritual, and it is actually a pretty hardcore ritual at this point, is to run every single day.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I run every day, and I haven't missed a day in over 20 years.
Oh, that is amazing. And I remember you guys are
And
running at Clio. I think this year's ClioCon will be no different, but there's a morning run, right?
That's right. That's right. It kind of inspired by some of this lunacy, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have rules. Where even if I'm really sick, or if I've just undergone surgery, I
You,
can go for a
you've
shorter
still got to
run,
get out
and
there. So.
the minimum is 2 kilometers. But I'll typically average about 4 or 5 kilometers. That's just kind of my baseline. And for me, it's like a meditative act. I just find that it's
Like the lunacy that keeps you sane. So.
it's the lunacy that keeps me sane. Yeah,
And so
for
you've never
sure.
missed, like even like through winter, you've never missed a day.
Never missed a
Oh,
day. No.
that's unreal. All right, well done. All right, well hopefully we can join you for a run in New Orleans. It might be through the streets throwing beads or whatever it is, through some bars.
We might be running
Yeah,
away
yeah,
from something.
exactly. Who
Who
knows?
knows?
But it's been great, having you on, and thanks for joining us. And really looking forward to what's coming up for Clio, and I'm sure the users are excited. And again, all the other developments with cloud and smart contracts is a very exciting time. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a good evening, Jack. See you.
Yeah, you too, Stevie.
Bye.